Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 9 of the Former Action Guys podcast. I'm your host, per the usual, Justin Kramer. All right, tonight we have my friend Nate Garens on. He was a JTAC with 5th ANGLICO, he wasn't a JTAC at 5th ANGLICO. He was one of the first Marines to 5th ANGLICO when they stood that unit up, and then he went from 5th ANGLICO to 1st ANGLICO, did some work there, became a JTAC there, I believe, and we get into it in the story. And then on to 10th Marines, and then, on and on and on. And he did actually some stuff in between that, and we'll get into that and some more stuff in the interview. I thought it was a really good discussion. Again, him and I, we met working at 10th Marines together at the artillery training school, teaching JTAC primers and stuff, and we'll talk about that in the podcast. But I just want to give you kind of a glimpse of what we're about to get into. Before we get going, as always, you got to make some cash, so hit up my website, jkramergraphics.com. Hit me up on Instagram at jkramergraphics. And, hey, I got the new Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter for Former Action Guys. It's the number 4 MER Action Guys on Twitter. So, before we get going, I got a couple messages. First one is from Commissioner_Gordon273 on Instagram. Sent me a message saying, "You put out great content, man. And it's nice having 2 service members talk instead of Joe Rogan not knowing what to ask." Joe Rogan's a hero of mine. No hate on him. He knows what's going on. I think we all, at some point, I'm going to not know what to ask. You kind of pull stuff out of your ass a little bit, but it is what it is. But I appreciate the kind words. And I looked right before the show. We have another, what do we have to? 10 5-star reviews on Apple Podcast. And I have actually the first written review. So the first one here is Smiley0621. So thanks, Smiley0621, for the 5-star review. And he says, "I've been listening for the past month or so and have not been able to stop. Justin has and builds a rapport with the guests and dives into the meaningful conversation that explains what it's like training and deploying to these places overseas. Throughout the podcast, I get reminded of all the feelings and thoughts going on my tours. Keep it up, Justin. We hope we get many more guests for a long time. I also hope that we keep getting guests that want to tell their stories and stuff like that, and we can spread the word about, some of the stuff that guys have done that people just don't know about. And, it's good information for guys that possibly want to lat move, or guys are trying to decide what kind of, and guys and girls, I say guys, but you know what I mean, that are thinking about coming into the service and stuff like that. So it gives them an idea of what they're actually getting themselves into, not the, let me say, I don't know, sugar-coated life that we see because, hey, we know someone's coming, and, the commandant's coming, so let's get everything cleaned up, and his camera crew there, and everybody's doing all their stuff, and it looks super, it looks one way when in reality it's something else. And that's just how it is in any place. I think any place, even in the corporate world, if the main dude's coming down to visit your area, you're going to kind of clean it up. I would assume, I don't know, but that just makes sense to me, but you know how it is. So anyway, and then one last message. This one was from Tony.fit92. Not a message. He sent in a review last week, I think, but he sent this message to me. He said, "Hey, dude, so I just finished Major's podcast. If you know any veteran trying to get certified as a personal trainer, send them over to the Fit Ops Foundation. I did it. It's completely free, 3-week program. They flew me out, paid for board and food. And by the end, they paid for you to take the NATA exam. Some of these dudes go on working at Equinox and high-end gyms. If anyone's interested, or if you know of anyone, send them my way for details." So, again, that's Tony.fit92. That's Tony, Toni.fit92. Hit him up. This isn't something I'm aware of or something that I personally know, but I'm all about spreading the word to help guys out. So, anyway, all right. Let's move along and hit up this podcast with my friend Nate. So here we go, episode 9. Enjoy. All right, welcome to episode 9 of the Former Action Guys podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Kramer. We got Nate Garens on. You got out as a staff sergeant or gunny?
Staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant, same as me. Yeah. So, yeah, he's my buddy. We work together at 10th Marines and stuff like that, but we're going to start from the beginning, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and are you from Ohio?
I am from Ohio and currently residing in Ohio. So, my name is Nate Garens, like you said. I enlisted in the Marine Corps in February 14th, 2005. That was Valentine's Day of that year. and I am my own Valentine, apparently. I started out at, I went through the normal pipeline, Fort Sill, and then Coronado, California to become an 0861, and then my first duty station was 5th ANGLICO. 5th ANGLICO to 1st ANGLICO, and then 1st ANGLICO to Marine Corps Security Cooperation Group, Marine Corps Security Cooperation Group, 10th Marine Regiment, 10th Marine Regiment to the 24th MU, and back to 10th Marine Regiment for my departure from the Marine Corps. So that was my...
it's a quick synopsis of what we're about to go through.
It's a quick synopsis of 12 years, yes, sir.
So what was it like when you got your orders? So when you got to Fort Sill, finish school there, go to Coronado, and you get to the end and you get the orders to your duty station. What were you thinking when you were going to 5th ANGLICO?
No idea. No idea what I was... I actually was one of the few individuals who put... So for anybody who's not familiar with, Marine Corps... Marine combat training, you get to make your little wish list of the 3 duty stations you would like to do. Mm-hmm. So I actually put Okinawa. That was my number 1 choice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I got where I wanted, but it didn't matter if I wanted it or not because they sent like 3/4 of my 0861 graduating class to 5th ANGLICO because 5th ANGLICO was just being stood up. I'm not a plank holder of 5th ANGLICO, but I was like the rotation of boot drop right after the plank holders.
Okay.
So it was still a new unit, still a young unit. And that graduating class from Coronado, California, from Naval Gunfire School, like 3/4 of us went to 5th ANGLICO.
So you were, Tony Musselman then?
I know Musselman, yeah.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, but I actually only know Musselman because from much later in life. So we met at 10th Marine Regiment at Artillery Training School because Musselman came over and he was working with Brian Pyler. I think Pyler was there after you left ATS. When you were there, it was grand old man of fucking artillery.
Who? Master Guns?
No, the civilian guy that was doing he ran,
Mr. Mack.
Yeah, and John McIntyre. Yeah, so after McIntyre left, they brought in Brian Pyler, and he was the civilian. So he worked side by side with Terry Musselman, Staff Sergeant Musselman at the time. I don't know if he's a gunny. I don't know if he's a gunny now. I think maybe he is. I don't know.
Musselman? No, he got out.
Did he?
Yeah, we might be talking about 2 different people. I don't think his first name's Terry.
We might be. Yeah, we might be talking about different
Tony.
people. No, it's different people. My guys in 08. I don't know what he is now. But he's still in, but he's a staff NCO. But he was originally an FDC guy.
Oh, okay. All right, so back to 5th ANGLICO. So you got your orders. You're like, oh, shit, I'm going to Japan. Like, I got what I wanted. How did the Marine Corps prepare you to fly overseas? Was there any kind of preparation? Just pack your bag and this is what you can't take?
Yeah, no, I guess not because at that point you're still fully in boot mode. So you're just moving from place to place relatively quickly. Mm-hmm. So you do get, if your first duty station is Okinawa, Japan, you get 30 days of leave after your MOS school before you have to go take your post in Oki. I actually met my ex-wife when I was at Coronado, California, going through Naval Gunfire School. She was at 32nd Street. Yeah, she was an AK2. So she was an E5. I was an E. When we met, I was an E2. I was an E3 when I graduated. But
what's an AK?
AK is an air. It's like SK, like a storekeeper.
Okay.
So before the Navy merged those rates together, there was separate side for the air side and a separate.
Technical difficulty there, but we're back on. So what were we back at again? Okinawa.
Yeah, so we were checking in my first unit in Okinawa. So this is October 2005. Yeah, October 2005 is when I changed into 5th ANGLICO. It was a new unit. Our sergeant major was a gunnery sergeant. It was a gunnery sergeant filling a sergeant major billet. It was actually gunnery sergeant up. Do you know Gunny Up? Sergeant major up
sergeant
now.
Up.
He's sergeant major now. Yeah.
I didn't like him at first, but then I kind of got him. I'm like, okay.
I only knew him as a first sergeant. I met him at Fort Sill. I think we were out there doing, I don't remember why I was out there, but it was some 2-week stint. And I met him as a first sergeant, but I always knew him as Gunny. But anyways, he was the senior enlisted advisor for 5th ANGLICO when I showed up, and there was a handful of staff NCOs. Adam Clement was out there, Spanky Gibson was one of the senior enlisted guys. Shit. I'm leaving a lot of people out that I should remember, but I'm old and I can't remember shit anymore. So.
It's been a minute. It's, what, 14 years now?
Yes, but there was a core cadre. There was a core cadre of plank holders that were there, and those were guys like Theo Huerta, First Sergeant Up, Spanky Gibson, and they they built a platoon, a brigade platoon up because we didn't have a full company, but we could support a brigade platoon. And they trained up as a brigade platoon, and then they deployed in support of 2nd ANGLICO in 2006 to Iraq.
Okay.
And so there was a group of guys that went. I wasn't part of that group. I was part of the group that was just shy of that group that got left behind in Okinawa.
Oh, the butthurt group.
Yeah, that was us.
Oh, man, I bet. I can imagine. I'd be super butthurt if the whole unit's deploying except for you.
Exactly. And there wasn't that many of us that got left behind. There was after that brigade platoon deployed and was gone, and we were done helping them up, getting ready for their deployment, and they were actually out the door. The RBE, or Remain Behind Party, or Element, I guess, was probably only it was 35 guys, and we had our own building on Hanson, but we really didn't have shit to do. So you can imagine that,
trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Trouble to brew. Luckily, we had our leadership got us into a lot of elements or a lot of deployments that were going on in Southeast Asia. Like we did Balikatan in the Philippines, and then we did Cobra Gold in Thailand. And we did what UFL. I don't know what it stands for anymore. I can't remember. But we did that in Korea. So we were pretty busy all the time, and I got to do a lot of things in the South Pacific.
So when you got there and you had that group of dudes, did those guys come from another ANGLICO? Did they bring in guys from ANGLICOs with experience to stand up this new ANGLICO, or were they just guys? Well,
this is shortly after the reemergence of active duty ANGLICOs, because for a long time, active duty ANGLICOs went away, and all there was 3rd and 4th.
They came back in what, 2004 or 2003?
Yeah, right around the start of the Iraq War. So 1st and 2nd got stood back up, not to their full strength, and of course, that unit is completely deactivated. There's nobody filling any of those line numbers, and now you're trying to like create a unit from nothing. It's pretty much standing up a unit from nothing, even though the guide on exists, but the unit did not.
Because I think for a while, when they stood down the active duty ones, they became the MEF liaison element. It became basically like a squad within the MEF that did this one job, but no one ever really used them.
Which essentially served the same element for the MEF, but in a smaller capacity, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So you had kind of the beginnings, the seed of the ANGLICO, but then they had to just build up the line numbers and pull in people from schools and, get guys that were experienced from 11th or 10th Marine Regiment to come in and fill those billets.
Did you go through an ANGLICO basic course when you got to
No. Yes, no. I don't know. There was some cognizance of they wanted to train us up. There was a heavy emphasis on cross training. There was didn't matter if you were an 0621 or an 0861, you're going to learn radios like everybody learned radios. You're going to learn call for fire like everybody learned call for fire. You were going to have, there wasn't when I came to 5th ANGLICO in 2005, there wasn't a 12-step process. Yeah. But there was, the same. You were going to learn the TTP. You were going to understand. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
12. But yeah, there was an in-doc. There was a period of time when you were not yet really part of the unit. You were just a boot, and then eventually, as you built your knowledge on comm and you built your knowledge on fire support, then you were kind of accepted.
Yeah.
And also you didn't get into too much trouble out in Kinville. You started to get accepted into that.
I felt like at 10th Marines, you were a boot until you did your first brag. And then it's like when you got back from brag, it was like, okay, we either hate you even more because you suck at your job, or like you're now one of us. I don't know.
I don't see. I have no knowledge base for like a boot mentality at 10th Marine Regiment, because when I got there, I was a senior. I don't know if
I got there as a sergeant.
it just I was always in that headquarters battery, so I was never really. I felt like I always had like a little bit of a shield from the bullshit of the regiment, you know.
Yeah. Well, I was with 210 at that time, so yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Oki. So you're in Oki. You're with 5th ANGLICO. So you did a bunch of like kind of like Westpac stuff, or like what did you jump on with like the 31st MEU? Is that how you jumped on these exercises?
The only boat I ever got on when I was with the ANGLICO was the HSV, and that was to travel from. Actually, I think we were taking it from Okinawa to Korea.
Okay.
Hold on. But no, we always flew where we were going. It was since ANGLICO was such a small unit and they were small detachments, and the majority of the unit was gone. So it was just like the only thing we could really support with was like a 4-man, like a FIC. We would send a FIC to Bala-Katan or to Cobra Gold to help call in air support for whoever.
Yeah.
So it was just by chance. I was always, because I was a moderately senior guy of the remain behind element, and I got promoted out of school quicker than other people. I was just always got lucky to get on those TADs.
Those exercises and stuff.
Yeah, man.
Dude, TAD's like the best thing. Like
the best thing ever.
Going TAD to places, especially when it's like, hey, you're going to go do this training in this area, but you're staying in this hotel. It's like, hell yeah. Like, if it's TAD that includes staying in a hotel and not in the field, it's like, this is, you can't even live a better life, can you?
Yeah. It's funny because my first experience with TAD is when I was with the ANGLICO, and we went TAD to Cobra Gold, and it was a F-18 Wizzo, his call sign's DFOG. He got us on the gig, but he couldn't get us funded orders. So we went unfunded. So we caught a C-130 out of Oki into northern Thailand, got off. We finagled some buses to get us to the hotel that we were going to stay at, and then we just kind of lived, as best we could. And we got a little funding on the back end for the housing, and like kind of got cleared up with S1. This was kind of cowboy days with you could never get away with it anymore with like travel claims and
Yeah, that's pretty
wild. How tightly they run shit now. But yeah, it was. We were there for a month, and we were there for 5 weeks.
Yeah. And
that was probably the best controlling I ever had in my entire Marine Corps career, because we had an entire division of F-18s that were out there trying to get releases, trying to get drops, and we were the only controllers, only American controllers, nearby that could just release ordnance. So I was a corporal out there, checking on a division of F-18s. And clearing them hot with 2,000-pound bombs all day long, and watching the shockwave come off the impact area, and you could actually feel it hit you in the chest. It was so severe.
Oh yeah, live ordnance is the best.
Yeah, it's the greatest.
Especially when you get 1,000 and 2,000-pound bombs. That's
you don't realize how big of an explosion. And the funny thing is, when we were in northern Thailand, we were in Lopburi, so we're at the Royal Thai Air Force Base up there, and there was a big market for scrappers. So they would wait for ordnance to explode, and then civilians would go out there and collect up the metal and then go and sell the metal, to make money, because
they'd melt it down and sell trinkets back to the military guys.
Whatever it is they do, I don't know, but they would be willing to put themselves in danger. They had wooden and earthen barriers, bunkers they had dug in. On the impact, right on the impact. I'm dropping a 2,000-pound bomb. So, I mean, I've been out of the Marine Corps for 2 years, so I can't tell you what the 0.1% piece of eye for a, 2,000-pound bomb is anymore. Yeah. But they were well within it, and they were suffering. They were suffering that blast just to get that shrapnel.
They would be in the impact area waiting. They wouldn't be like, oh, there was a bombing today, let's go out and grab stuff.
No, they knew it was incoming, and they were waiting in so they could get it before other people got it.
That's insane.
I know, it's insane.
But that's stuff, it's like that in 29 Palms, but not that severe. There's not humans out on the range waiting to pick up scrap.
So and it's a partner nation thing too. So we're talking to our Royal Thai Air Force guys, and we're like, hey, you got civilians out in the impact area. We got to call off training. We can't drop bomb. We can't get our training done if that's going on.
Yeah, imagine if you killed one of them.
Right, exactly. But the Thai response to us is if we no care, you no care. Don't worry about it. Are you kidding me? I can't just not worry about it. There's people in the impact area. So we had a mortar platoon that was down to put spotting rounds out for us into the impact area. So we got a couple S10 type vehicles, and we would wait for these people to show themselves in the bunker area, and then we go and, detain them, take them out of the impact areas so they're not going to get blowed up, and then go on with our training after the training's over, release them. Yeah. Not the ideal situation, but nobody got hurt.
You do what you got to do. So you were a corporal, were you a JFO or what kind of training had you had at that time? Just OJT stuff? Yeah, it was all OJT. So this was and I'm taking a shot in the dark, but this was before JFO became like a formal qualification, right?
Yeah, there was no JFO. I'm actually never have been a JFO.
Yeah.
When I got to 5th, it was all OJT. It was all, Luckily, we had a good cadre of staff NCOs that had a massive depth of fire support experience. I mean, guys like, Spanky Gibson or Master Gibson, who, weren't going to accept anything less than absolute rote knowledge of fire support from you. You just had to know it. There was no bullshit in them. So they kind of
demand. Which is the way it should be.
Yeah, it absolutely should be. So, and they demanded perfection from us, and so we had really great OJT. Not to take anything away from the formal courses that have been developed to try to kind of build up fire supporters from basic fire supportmen for artillery and naval gunfire into air support. But yeah, that didn't exist when I was coming through the pipes.
Yeah. So did you do any deployments to OIF or OEF through 5th ANGLICO?
Yeah, so with 5th, I went to Iraq. I got there in March 2007, left October 2007.
Where were you at for that deployment?
We started out in Ramadi, so I was a FIC chief, and actually my comm guy, Theo Huerta, had done the deployment. So the guys from 5th ANGLICO that did the brigade platoon that supported 2nd ANGLICO, they came back after that deployment was over, and those guys that came back from that brigade platoon had to make a decision. If you wanted to, if you're going to be a good soldier, you can double up and redeploy with the unit, because the 5th ANGLICO company is about to deploy to Iraq as a company. So
they wanted some recent experience to come out with them.
For sure. So I don't know if you're familiar with Mass Sergeant Spanky Gibson, but he was like one of the first enlisted Joint Terminal Attack Controllers. This is before enlisted guys were Joint Terminal Attack Controllers. It was all officers at the time, and he actually had a FIC. And this is in 2006 on a deployment to Iraq. As an enlisted guy, a gunnery sergeant, taking a 4-man team, taking a FIC team, and supporting. He was supporting SEALs. I don't even know who all they were supporting, but I know that Gunner Sergeant Gibson lost his leg in that deployment. He got shot. It was above the knee, and he kind of has gone on to do great things. Deployed to Iraq after that again.
After losing his leg?
After losing his leg, yeah. And he's still kind of he was doing motivational speaking for a while, and now he's living out in Oklahoma where he's from and doing his thing. But his saw gunner and his radio operator for his FIC team, this guy named Theo Huerta, who's actually still in the Marine Corps, but he came back from that deployment, and Huerta is maybe he was a PFC when they started the deployment, but he was a Lance Corporal when he got back. I was a Lance Corporal and then just picked up Corporal, and he was like, yeah, I'll stick around and do another deployment, and they stuck him on my FIC team. So I was technically the FIC chief, and I have this Lance Corporal, saw gunner, radio operator who just deployed to Iraq, just got back, and his team leader, they were in such heavy fire that, his team leader lost his leg, and they were in that kind of fight, you know what I'm saying? And then I'm supposed to, I'm just this boot 0861 who just, I was deploying to, Thailand and fucking, getting my dick sucked in the time. So.
That's how I felt when I came over, when I lap moved. I'm like, fuck, man, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. I remember, I don't know if you knew Delara from 210. He deployed.
I know the name.
Too, and he taught me how to fucking plot on a map, dude. I was a sergeant, and I was like, oh, that's how you do it. I came from Motor T. I didn't know anything. And so it was a steep learning curve. But, yeah, it's got to be tough having a dude that's got, legitimate combat experience underneath you.
I mean, it's value added, if you just, but there were definitely some times where we butted heads, but, we became good friends, and I would say, we're still good friends to this day.
So you guys pushed out to Ramadi, and you said what year?
Yeah, 2007, March 2007, we went to Ramadi, and we were in support of Task Force 177, which was a composition of 1st AD, 1st ID, so it's 1st Armored Division, 1st Infantry Division, Army guys. So ANGLICO, typically, I'm sure, especially your listeners know, but ANGLICO traditionally supports non-Marine Corps elements with Marine Corps fire support, and usually non-U.S. members, but we were actually supporting the Army. And it wasn't just us. We had Air Force TAC-P guys who were supporting that brigade platoon as well. But we went there in 2007. It wasn't crazy. 2006 in Ramadi was, that was the Wild West.
Yeah, that's what you always hear about is 2006 time frame.
Yeah, 2000, and that's when Huerta was there. But 2007, the city itself was pretty well, because that was after the awakening and after, I can't remember the sheik's name now. The main guy who turned it around. We had a tank in front of his place and shit. Anyways, he kind of turned the tide and got the tribes with the coalition forces, but we did have some resistance down south, and we had the Battle of Donkey Island is what they called it, but it was there was trying to be a resurgence of I don't even know what kind of forces to call them, but enemy forces from the south of Ramadi were trying to reestablish themselves as a presence in the south of Ramadi. And they had actually had tractor trailers, 40-foot tractor trailers, and they were pulling their supplies through. It was dirt roads, and it called not even good dirt roads. You should not be pulling a tractor trailer. So the Army shows up. They were just doing a mounted presence patrol through the area, and they're looking through their MVGs, and they're going, you can only imagine, you've been doing this patrol every day this is just a regular thing that you do at night, and you never see anything crazy. And then all of a sudden you're driving through the middle of nowhere, and you're looking through your MVGs, and you're fairly certain you're seeing a tractor trailer pulling through, south of Ramadi, and you're like, what the hell is going on? So they stop, they call a halt, and they pull the forces forward to try to get an idea what's going on. And the back doors opened up from the tractor trailers, and then dudes just started pouring out of the back of the tractor trailer with.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, and they're armed, and they took up fighting positions and started to fire they were bringing the fight to them. And my FIC wasn't even out there at the time. We were back at the FOB. So they engaged with them, broke contact, pulled back to the FOB. We went back in the daylight. My FIC leader went with an NSW team to go out. There was this island strip in the water that separated 2-5's boundary from Task Force 177's boundary, and then there was an island in the center of the Al Wazir Canal. So they were taking dinghies, or these little inflatable rafts, with the SEALs onto the island, because they thought they were storing munitions on the island, or storing whatever. Yeah, but this is, at the time, the personal radio that we were fond of was the PRC 148, the Prick 148, and it was garbage. At the time, it was garbage. So I was the only one that had comm with the aircraft that was in the overhead. I was back in my vehicle. My team leader was with the SEALs across on these dinghies on the little island, and we caught contact from the north. I don't know how severe it was. I think it was probably 3 points that we were receiving contact from with machine gun fire, but they had definitely kind of watched us for a little bit, pull into where we were going. We'd kind of gotten complacent. We're like, okay, last night this was a big fight, but now it's over, and we're just kind of doing a little sensitive site exploitation. Nothing's going to happen. And they actually, brought a little smoke. So we returned fire. Some of our dismounts, we caught 2 casualties right away, Army guys, Sergeant First Class and a corporal. Tried to draw them back, and we had F-18s in the overhead. So I was a corporal at the time. This is my first deployment. and I'm getting shot at. I'm manning a freaking crew served. I'm trying to kind of just figure out what's going on. And at the same time, I have an aircraft in the overhead, so I know that I can bring, force to bear on the firefight, but I just really don't know how to. I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just trying to fight the 6 inches that are in front of my face, and luckily my air officer, my Major Elfers, he was listening in on the TAD net, and he instructed the F-18s to do a show of force, so they brought it down fucking low, man. It was so low. I was scared, and so in reality, they were probably maybe 150 feet off the deck when they screamed over top of us. And so that just shut the enemy down right away. There was no more fire coming at us, and we were able to pull back our wounded. We evacuated them. I called in a medevac 9 line, got those guys out of there, and then the Army guys did a foot clearance of that area that we'd just been attacked from. By that time, they had punched out. They even dropped a 500-pound bomb after that. I was like, what are you dropping a bomb on? There's nobody there anymore. This is 6 hours after the firefight. They want to, just because,
there's control in.
Exactly. It's like, this is my chance. This is my chance to get a drop. And it wasn't even my, not my team chief or my team leader, but yeah, that's the mentality, I guess.
Yeah. But, damn, dude. That's a good baptism by fire there, huh?
Dude, it's funny because 5th ANGLICO CO had come down to Ramadi from Al-Assad just to kind of do his, just happened to be when he was doing his rounds, checking on the salts and whatever.
Yeah.
But we pulled back into Ramadi, back into the FOB that we shared, or the little berthing area that we shared with EOD, and there was a couple other units. It was the dog guys, the military working dog guys.
Yeah.
But they were all standing up, clapping and shit, congratulations. I'm like, I don't know what happened. Thank you. You're welcome for my service.
So what did you have any other interesting patrols or anything from that deployment?
Yeah, so we were down, not shortly after that, I guess, probably 2 or 3 months after that, we were pushing further south from Ramadi into, there's a very famous, Karbala, that's the area.
Yeah.
So the Karbala Mosque is this very predominant mosque, and it's almost as sacred a pilgrimage as Mecca is for, man, I'm going to show my ignorance here with the Sunni Shia difference, but
I always fuck it up too.
But anyways, one of the patrol routes that we were taking was right in front of the Karbala Mosque, and the Karbala IPs were a mixture of legitimate Iraqi police and then just kind of guys that claimed Iraqi police so that they could maintain their dominance. I don't know. Yeah. They were pretty much bad guys. They weren't
there for the people.
Exactly. And one big thing at the time was the Iraqi police were not allowed to have RPGs. You couldn't have RPGs. That was just the rule. And this police station or police checkpoint that was directly in front of the Karbala Mosque, they had a RPG. And so our Army, platoon commander at the time, or the convoy commander, he got into pretty much a confrontation with these Karbala IPs, trying to get them to give up their RPG. And of course, since my FIC is in support of this patrol, my captain, he was out there with I think the guy who was leading the convoy was a major, Army major. But he was out there with the major, and I was back there in the vehicle watching the rover feed inside the vehicle, and we had F-18s in the overhead. And I'm looking and I'm watching probably about 500 meters down because there's the whole mosque is a walled off compound, but about 500 meters down the initial entrance from the compound, there's another guard post. And I can see at that guard post, there's a lot of activity going on. There's a lot of people moving. You can tell that there's vehicles moving, there's people moving, probably about 50 to 150 people moving around the area. And I should have probably preface that with, we'd been watching that particular mosque for the past couple of days, and we had seen that at night vehicles were coming and going, and we assumed that was a local point for transferring weapons. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole reason we were doing the patrol by the place in the first place.
Yeah.
And we did not have a large force. Our convoy consisted of 12 gun trucks, which, I mean, it's pretty good convoy, but they had, I don't know, 150 guys with guns. You're facing a pretty sizable force. It's a Mexican standoff is what it was turning into.
Yeah.
So eventually what it came down to was they snatched the RPG from the IP guys. We did a show of force with the F-18s, and then we loaded up and fucking got the hell out of Dodge. Strangely enough, they gave the RPG back to those Iraqi police.
Oh my
God! A general came down 2 days after that, had a meeting with those same IPs, and then gave the RPG back, like in a ceremonious fashion.
Jeez,
it was funny.
Talking about making that dude feel like look like an asshole in front of the Iraqis too. Like,
exactly.
Jeez, that's not good. That's not good on either way. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know the situation, so I don't know if I would be okay with them having an RPG, but at the same time, I don't think I would go around trying to take it from them.
We were well convinced at that point in time that we did the convoy that there was not good things going on at the mosque to begin with, but they were using the mosque as a cover to to cover their actions.
Their nefarious activities.
Their nefarious activity, exactly.
Yeah. So after that deployment, or throughout that deployment, what you were at FOB? Is it FOB Ramadi or Blue Diamond or what?
I spent the majority of my time at FOB Ramadi, which is the main FOB in Ramadi. It was a well-established FOB. There was you wanted for nothing at FOB Ramadi, and then we would go. Yeah, then we would go out for 1 week or 2 weeks at a time, and travel down to the south and try to expand the empire, if you will.
But okay. Yeah, I mean, I was at TQ when I was in Iraq, and it was in 2009, so there wasn't really a lot going on there. Plus, I was a mechanic, so I had no real insight of what was happening in the real war. In 2009, there really wasn't that much going on anyway, but we had a chow hall, and we had a little PX on my side of the FOB, or not a FOB, it's a base, that's an air base. But, man, it was nothing like, I don't know, it was FOB Ramadi, it couldn't have been going to Al-Assad or something like that. Did you ever go to Al-Assad?
Yeah, I mean, so with the way ANGLICO worked, we would, we came into, I don't know how it was when you were there, but we came into the main FOB. So we came into Al-Assad as a company with 5th ANGLICO, and then you got dispatched to wherever you were going from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been to Al-Assad.
I was a mechanic, and I was on TQ, which is a major air base. So we flew from Kuwait straight into TQ, and I just stayed there.
But it's the same kind of deal with Afghanistan coming in too. Yeah.
Exactly. You go to the air base, and then they fly you out you get on helos and fly out to the actual FOB and stuff that you're going to.
Right. There. So it was, it was very much like, I don't know. It was
not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
Everybody, as long as you can get a gym and some decent food every once in a while, that's the main thing on a deployment.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like we always had that. We were never, as an ANGLICO unit, because all of my deployments, at least all my combat deployments, were all with ANGLICO, and you never really wanted for anything. You always had a Iridium on you, so you could always reach back home and call somebody. Maybe you were kind of out in the middle of nowhere for my last deployment with 1st ANGLICO to Afghanistan was probably my longest. When I was on the push in Marjah, okay. It was 41 days we went without a shower. I don't know. It was a long time. But that was
2011.
That was the first months. There was nothing set up. When we got to a spot that we were trying to secure, it was as much as you could imagine securing a land, Marine Corps style. All right, this is this intersection. We know we're safe from here. We're just going to keep a guard 24/7. It was an interest. That was my most. Before that, I'd always kind of been a matter of turnover. You come in, okay, this is RAO. And this is what you own, Marjah was the first time I went into a place. It was okay, we're driving into a place where we did not own it before, and we were seeking to control it. It's different.
Yeah. Well, let's move back to, you came back from your Ramadi deployment, and then from there, did you do anything else with 5th ANGLICO, or did you have orders when you came back?
I didn't have orders when I came back. They were looking for volunteers because 1st ANGLICO was getting ready to deploy in 2000. So it was 2007. I got back in October 2007. And then in March of 2008 is when 1st ANGLICO was scheduled to deploy to Iraq. So because 5th had just got back, 2nd had replaced 5th. We had done our turnover, left seat, right seat with 2nd ANGLICO. Uh-huh. And then when 2nd ANGLICO was done, they were going to do their left seat, right seat with 1st ANGLICO. And that was the deployment that 1st ANGLICO was needing people for. And they wanted somebody who would kind of waive their dwell time and come and deploy with them. So I did that so I could get off the island quicker, really was my main reason.
So what was it like coming from 5th ANGLICO to 1st ANGLICO? Like, what differences did you see between the two units? And then what differences did you see between just Okinawa in general compared to, like, Camp Pendleton? So your phone died when I asked, what was it like going from 5th ANGLICO to 1st ANGLICO? What was, like, the differences you saw in the unit? And then what did you think, like, were the big differences between Okinawa and Camp Pendleton?
So, for the first question, what was it like going from 5th ANGLICO to 1st ANGLICO? I felt, coming out of 5th ANGLICO, I felt like a plank holder. I felt like that was my unit, and I built that unit. I deployed with that unit. I did a successful combat deployment with that unit. I lost friends with that unit. So, I definitely, and 1st ANGLICO as a, just a before the deactivation history and depth. And, it was an established unit when I came into it. And obviously they have been doing deployments in support of OIF long before I even joined the Marine Corps. So it was a little bit humbling because I was coming there as a FIC chief and I was filling a billet that they needed to be filled. So I felt like I was coming to fill a vacancy for them. So I felt like I was doing them a favor, if that sounds weird. But I had my chest puffed up,
Okay.
And I got it puffed down real quick when I got there and realized, some of the individuals, especially my SAL chief and my platoon sergeant and the sergeant major, Sergeant Major Duncan when I got there. It was an interesting transition. Plus, I was transitioning from living as a geo bachelor to living with my wife because I had gotten married a year before I came back to the States from the girl, from the Navy chick that I was dating when I was going through Naval Gunfire School.
Okay, so that's a pretty good life change just doing that.
For sure.
So when you say you got your chest puffed down, what do you mean? Like, I think so. When I got to 1st ANGLICO, thinking like, I'm coming from 10th Marines, which we all had good JTACs and stuff like that, and I'm going there thinking like that's all these guys do. So it's kind of like, for me, it was kind of like, okay, I hope I'm going to be able to keep up, which I think I did. I think it's just natural nerve going into a unit, but I thought that some of the dudes there were, just super proficient and, extremely, what am I going to say, experienced. Especially your shooter platform pilots that had transitioned over and became a JTAC on the ground.
Yeah. Definitely. So, the most I was impressed coming from 5th ANGLICO actually, and I hate to say that I was most impressed by comm guys coming from 5th ANGLICO to 1st ANGLICO because the comm chief at 5th ANGLICO when I was there, I can't even remember his name. He was a recon guy, but he was just an extremely proficient communicator. But that's where I got my most, I think, I felt like they built an all-around observer and an all-around Anglican, if you will, better at 1st ANGLICO because I was forced out of my comfort zone a lot more often than I was at 5th ANGLICO. And I don't know if that was by design of leadership or just by the design of my attitude because I kind of got
you know, I kind of got the what for when I got there, like, you know.
Well, do you think it might also be, I feel like at 1st ANGLICO you have a lot more opportunities to train than you do at 5th ANGLICO. Like, you're pretty limited in your training, like live training out of Okinawa, because you can't do anything on the island.
Whiskey 174?
I don't know. I've never been out there.
There's a little island off the coast of Okinawa, and Whiskey 174 is the impact area, but it's terrible. You have like very restricted final attack headings, very restricted ordnance release. It's not good. But yeah, that was where you're right. You go out to 29 Palms, there's a lot more you can do in the way of training for sure. Even in Camp Lejeune, there's a lot more you can do, or down in Florida, there's a lot more you can do than you can in Okinawa. But the majority of my time in Okinawa wasn't spent on Okinawa. It was spent in Thailand. It was spent in the Philippines. It was spent in Korea. So my restrictions, in Thailand we could do, really it was like as long as you weren't killing people, you're probably doing the right thing.
But right up to that line, though,
right up to
based off your other story.
Yeah, exactly. So that was like a moral decision where you're dealing with a local national force, a partner nation force that life is not as relevant in all nations as it is in the United States. So they think this is training that we have the opportunity to do, and obviously they're getting paid for us using their impact area. So they're trying not to inhibit our training. And they don't really care about what the locals are doing. The locals are risking their life, and they figure that local.
They're dumb enough to be there.
No, and I mean, and it's not, it's not an incoherent point of view. I mean, that person is willing to risk their life to hide out in that bunker. And these bunkers were well built. Like, you probably would be all right. Like, it would suck. It would suck for sure, but you would be all right. You would not die. You would be concussed.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I mean, it was like, I'm telling you, brother, like right on the edge of where we were dropping 2,000-pound bombs.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it was reinforced with like logs, so that they had trees, and then earthen over top of it, and then reinforced, and they would hang out in that little bunker until the bomb went off, and then they would scamper out from these bunkers and collect up the metal and scamper off.
That is insane.
It was worth it. That was worth it to them. That was a worthy chance to take in order to benefit themselves by collecting this metal to sell, on the market.
I wonder how much money that metal's worth.
I don't know.
But any money there is worth a lot.
Yeah. This is shortly after the tsunami in Thailand, where we were sending relief efforts there to relieve it. So the exchange rate was, the money we spent in Bangkok was multiplied. I don't know how much more.
Yeah, I've always heard, man. So my Mew didn't go to Thailand. We never went that way.
You went to Hong Kong though, right?
Dude, I've been to Hong Kong 5 times.
Oh, I hate you. I've never been to China. I'm over here majoring in Chinese, and I've never been to China.
Dude, Hong Kong's awesome, but it's expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's expensive. It's a cool spot. It's definitely a cool spot, but Thailand, I hear, is just crazy. Like, and money goes forever.
Yeah.
Guys, you just and people are like, it doesn't matter what you want to do, like you can do it in Thailand. It's like the place where you can basically do whatever you want. That's insane, man.
There's no
good and bad.
Yeah, and the exchange rate was such that it was like you get there and you're like, money's not even an issue. Like, we would just go and just buy. We would go into bars and just buy like, let me get a bottle of Jack Daniels. I'm not gonna get a drink. Just like, give me a bottle off the wall and I'll just drink it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So all right, so now you're at 1st ANGLICO, and what did they have you as you were a assault chief or a FIC chief?
I came there as a FIC chief for the deployment to Iraq in 2008. I had an infantry first lieutenant who was my FIC OIC, my FIC leader.
You had an infantry officer there?
Yeah. We actually had at 1st ANGLICO, we had a lot of infantry officers at that time. We had 2 infantry officers that were FIC leaders. We had an infantry officer that was assault leader. And we had another infantry officer somewhere. I think he may have been in another brigade platoon, but there was another infantry officer who was there. Yeah, we had several.
See, I heard that there were infantry officers with ANGLICO for a little while, but I thought that it was, from what I had understood, that it was only at like the company level positions, like the OPSO, like planning and staff kind of stuff. I didn't know they were down I didn't know there were that many, and I didn't know they were down at that level.
So, from when I got to first ANGLICO, so in 2007, end of 2007, beginning of 2008, the entry to ANGLICO was from the executive officer. That's how you got there. And there was a good relationship between the F-18. He was an F-18 Wizzo. I can't remember his fucking name. He was a major. Anyways, he had a good relationship with 5th Marines. And so there were several infantry officers that came over to us to be team leaders and to be JTACs and went through the schoolhouse. And this is when it was a little bit more fluid with who could go to TACP school and to become a JTAC, and it was a free MLS. And before they kind of hammered down on it, I don't even know what the regulations are now. But
and that was still kind of before enlisted guys really went that much, correct?
Yeah,
or at that time was it only staff NCOs?
The only enlisted men I know who got sent to TACP school who was a JTAC was Gunny Gibson or Master Sergeant Gibson. And that's because he went to TACP school. I don't know how he got there, but he was there in 2005 when I got to 5th ANGLICO. He was already a JTAC, so I don't know how he scored that seat or what backwater connection he made. That's a question for him. Maybe that's another episode for you. I'll give you his information. I'm sure he's got some stories to tell.
I'd be down.
But yeah, so and up until 2009, the second time that I deployed with First ANGLICO, they didn't send enlisted guys from ANGLICO. The only people that were sending enlisted guys to become JTACs were the regiments. All the schoolhouse seats for ANGLICO were all officers, unless you were assault chief. And even really with assault chief, that seat often got given up, and that staff NCO got fucked out of his seat so a captain could go.
I often told dudes while I was there that it's easier to become a JTAC at the artillery regiments than it is at ANGLICO, because at ANGLICO it is for the assault chief and
for sure
almost all the officers on the teams are JTACs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you want to become a JTAC as a sergeant, you need to go to an an artillery regiment, and then you'll go as soon as you get there, probably.
And it's funny because when I was at 10th Marine Regiment and I was trying to send artillery officers, first lieutenants, to TACP school because we had open seats, I got pushback from the division JTAC. Chappie. He was like, we don't send fucking officers to TACP school at the regiment. Don't waste a seat on that. So
I remember that when I was there. That was still like, it was very uncommon to see an artillery lieutenant or captain that was JTAC qualified unless they came from ANGLICO. So
yeah, and I was for that. I was like, we would for sure be. I feel like we should invest in the enlisted corps to be JTACs because that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck from a JTAC. But when we had seats,
because you can stay in it as long as you're in,
basically. Right? But if we had seats that were available and they weren't being filled, and there was a competent, lieutenant that was, wanted to go and had the time and schedule to go, why not?
I understand. I'm all about sending people as long as they're qualified because there's just such a shortage. I like the idea that they had the infantry officers at ANGLICO. That would be good for the company, just to bring that other side of the house in, because there's so many times that you support infantry guys of other nations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That having that in-house knowledge is good because, a lot of us have knowledge just from working with the infantry already and doing stuff with them or working with like recon or whoever, doing our stuff with those guys. However, it's not like there's not in-house knowledge. Like it's all like, oh, I got to do this one training event with these dudes and I got to do this. Rather than having someone there that went through a formal school on different techniques and stuff. Now, we did send guys. I know we sent guys to like raid leaders course and stuff like that to try to get some of that experience, but it's still, like I said, in-house, that's their core job. That's a smart move. I think they should go back to that.
I feel like the first ANGLICO S3 did a better job of finding school seats for kind of niche schools that were maybe not necessary for our guys to go to, but it was a cool opportunity for them to go to and definitely improve their skill set and put another tool in their toolbox. First ANGLICO.
Such as what? What kind of schools?
Pathfinder, like jump school seats came out of First ANGLICO a lot more than they did 5th ANGLICO. At least when I was there, it's probably much more evened out now over the years.
It comes and goes. Yeah. Half my team was jump qualified.
Yeah.
They still don't have a jump mission at First ANGLICO, but when I got there, half of my SALT was jump qual.
Yeah, they stood up that's when I was there, they stood up a jump SALT and I got to go. That's how I got my jump school seat because
it
was random, and then we had to give up our weekends to jump with third, jump with third ANGLICO on the weekends in order to work our quals towards our, gold wings. And then even after you got all your quals that you needed after jump school to get your gold wings, there was that last caveat, like you had to be more than, I think it was 90 days with a jump unit in order to rate gold wings. So you couldn't, it wasn't a jump unit, so it didn't even matter if you had all your jumps done, you weren't going to get your gold wings.
We had guys get around that by being with the MEU.
And then
so they jumped enough. They jumped with recon and stuff on the MEU, and they jumped with like the reservists and stuff. And then they're like they had it all worked out where they got their gold wings.
Yeah,
but I know what you're talking about.
They tried to work it so they would the first ANGLICO CO would send a guy 90 days TAD to third ANGLICO, and then when you were with third ANGLICO, then you after you've been with a jump, because third ANGLICO is a jump unit, so then you've satisfied that requirement for the. That's like a whole, that's some shit.
So how was jump school for you? What did you think about jump school?
It was like any entry level school. I thought, just do what you're told and you'll be
fine. The guy on the last podcast, or not the last one, the one before that, episode 7, Andrew Namaro, he went to jump school, and he was just like, dude, it's just full of boots. It's full of Army boots. Like, they're retarded.
It's a pipeline school for them, so that's like the Army. Like if you're going to go, I guess, and I don't know the recruiting process for the Army or the flow for Army recruits, but there is the vast majority of the people that will be in your company in jump school will be, guys that just got done with their basic training or getting ready to go to Ranger school or getting ready to go where, so they can get to their unit.
Did you get to do the tower?
Yeah, I did actually. I didn't want to.
You want to describe that because I think he said he wasn't able to do it because of the weather or something like that. So you want to describe what doing that tower at jump school was like?
Yeah, it's in Columbus, Georgia, so it's it's pretty flat. It's this huge tower that has 4 arms, and then they pull up a chute from the center of the chute. They can only use one side of the tower at a time, so 2 arms, depending on which way the wind's blowing. Because if the wind is blowing towards the tower, you can't be on an arm that would, when they release you from the arm, it would push your chute back into the tower, and then you get wrapped around the tower. So they monitor the weather very closely. But how closely, like a wind can change. So it's very disheartening when you're getting hauled up there. But mine was pretty uneventful. It just, they pulled me up. There was no wind at all. I just floated straight down.
So are you you're in the full harness and the chute, and they just what is it, like an arm or something grabs it and picks it up, or?
Yeah, so you're in the whole harness and the chute, and then the top of the pinnacle of the chute is caught by the top of this arm, and then it pulls you up, and then it releases, and then the chute deploys. It just, when air catches it, obviously it fills up, and then you slip and go to where you're going, and that's the end of it.
Did you see any that didn't that malfunctioned or
I did not
didn't operate as expected?
Nope. All the ones that I saw seemed to have went pretty true to course.
So when you got done with jump school, explain, because some people probably don't know, what were the requirements? I don't know if they've changed it, but at your time, what were the requirements to go from having the silver jump wings, the lead sled, to having gold wings?
Well, according to Marine Corps order, no, I don't know. It's 10 jumps. So you do 5 jumps when you go through jump school, right? And then you have 10 jumps that you have to do after jump school. And there's a combination of platforms and gear setups. So some can be Hollywood and some can be full combat jumps. And then you have to have, I don't know. There's multiple platforms, right? I don't know. I'm a lead sledder guy. So,
okay.
But yeah, and then I know that last caveat that exists, you have to be 30 days or 90 days or whatever with a jump unit, in order to rate your gold wings. So.
Okay. So, sorry. So you're on your team, and you're the FIC chief. You're planning on going to Iraq with the company. What was your pre-deployment training like?
So it was my first deployment with 1st ANGLICO was a pretty quick workup. As soon as I showed up to the unit, we were getting ready to go up to MTC, which is the National Training Center in Northern California, to do our whatever it was, 30 or 40 days of pre-deployment workup with the Army. And then come back, pre-deployment leave, and then deploy. So, but I was coming right off of a deployment anyways, so it was like, pre-deployment training for me was just a pain in my ass that I didn't really want to do.
Probably helped you get to know your team though.
Yeah, exactly, and that's really all it was for. Although my FIC leader changed halfway through pre-deployment training, so it's kind of.
Oh, really? What?
I got there.
I mean, if it's like a personal thing or whatever.
No, it wasn't. No, and it wasn't like an administrative thing either. It was just that was the way that his orders worked or something. I don't even remember the guy who.
He just missed a deployment, huh?
Yeah, he missed right before pre-deployment training had started. He left, and then I got another captain, and then deployed with him. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty seamless because I understood the way that a team could work effectively downrange, and I've been doing it for 7 months, so I kind of just, if anything, I was kind of a bull in a china shop with my officer, not letting him put his 2 cents in, or not listening to him, or not being a good senior enlisted advisor, and being more of a shut the fuck up and do what I say kind of guy. Which,
how did you already know where you guys were going to be going to in Iraq?
We knew generally where we were going. We got it hammered down a little closer to when we deployed, but we ended up spending the majority of our time, at least FOB time, at Haditha Dam. So,
okay.
But this is in 2008, so there was nothing going on. The dam was a barren dam. It was an awesome gym, and we spent about 2 months doing OpDan, Operation Defeat Al Qaeda in the North. We did that. We spent about 2 months on that trail, which was pretty much driving around the desert trying to find bad guys and not being super successful at it. So.
Okay. Was the dam like part of the FOB?
Yeah, it was, and it was a great. Actually,
really?
If you think about a deployment where you want to work out and get strong, that deployment, man, because you would run the dam was. I can't remember. It was a lot. I want to say it was like 24 stories if you ran up it. So if you ran all the way up the dam and then over the dam, and you could look over, the lake was actually huge and it was beautiful. Look over the lake as you run over the dam and then run back down the stairs. And then inside the dam, like 3 stories inside the dam, was dedicated gym from when it was a major base, and there was a lot of U.S. personnel there. But when we got there wasn't, it was the drawdown. There wasn't a lot of people there. So it was just this huge gym with all this equipment, and it was empty. And you could do whatever you wanted because there was no work to be done in Iraq because the fight was over.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think I mentioned on. I think I mentioned on one of my previous podcasts that when I got there in 2009, we had some guys from my deployment, and I left in August or September of 2009. And some of the guys that cross-decked with us, that cross-decked to stay over for the guys that replaced us, and then the guys that replaced us also, they all got sent to Afghanistan like 2 months after, my deployment was over, because Iraq was basically it. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that one's pretty quiet, huh? No memorable.
No, I think that one? We got shot at 2 times that entire deployment. That was
pretty chill, huh?
Pretty chill.
So you come back, and then what did you do from there?
I came back. I was a FIC chief on that deployment. I came back. We did. What was that operation we did with the Brits? We went to England with the 1st Coldstream Guard, number 1 company Coldstream Guard, and we did this operation in Kukubri, Scotland.
Oh, Joint Warrior.
Joint Warrior, yes, there it is. Yeah, we did Joint.
Yeah, they still do that.
Yeah, we went and did Joint Warrior. That was the first iteration. That was the first time we ever did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was my salt. So, it wasn't my salt at the time. It was actually, I was a FIC chief still, and my salt chief, I guess whose name I won't mention because the conversation's probably going to go. He ended up not going on the deployment with us. and I took over the SALT. But this is before Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And, I mean, he was gay. And we got into a couple situations when we were in England where it was obvious he was gay, I guess. And,
really? They kicked him out for that?
They didn't kick him out, but it became like a thing where the junior Marines knew because he had seen him making out with another dude. And then so the junior Marines kind of lost trust and confidence in leadership. And then it became this whole grapevine. So I tried to talk to him about it, and Sergeant Major heard about it, and then they ended up cutting him orders to another unit, and he went away.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You still know the guy?
I don't. I lost contact. He kind of like cut me off like after that, and I don't blame him.
What'd you think of him? What did you think of him as like a SALT chief?
Stellar SALT chief. Yeah, physically fit to the T. Work.
Was he a JTAC as well?
He was a JTAC. He was at work before you got there. He was there until it didn't matter how late you stayed. He wasn't going to leave until the last guy was gone.
That sucks. It ended up like that.
Yeah, just kind of an alpha male type dude. Almost too much because it was kind of obvious that he was gay. Like I think people knew he was gay already. Like he lived in San Diego in a house with other guys, and nobody ever really saw him with a chick, but it was never really solidified until we went to Joint Warrior together, and we were out of this club in Aldershot, and he was making out with a guy quite obviously, and it got around, and he ended up getting sent away, which sucked.
Damn.
Yeah.
Huh.
But it was
crazy.
It was a different corps. Like that's what they did. That was their solution.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Would you think that was the right solution?
Yeah, I don't disagree with them because
because it can still be fucked up and be the right decision at the same time.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. It is fucked up and the right decision at the same time because we were 2 months away from deployment, and it became like it was this all-encompassing thing. Like everything was about it, and that was like. And when you
see the people on the other side would be like, why wouldn't you get rid of the guys that were making it a big deal?
Yeah.
And the only reason I say that is because I want to bring up the fact that it's definitely easier to move one person and have them replaced than it is to move half a team. Right before deployment.
And it wasn't even his SALT or our SALT, that was affected by because it was 2 SALTs that went to do Joint Warrior training. So it was 2/3 of the unit that was getting ready to deploy to Afghanistan was encompassed in this scandal. Which wasn't even a fucking scandal. It was somebody in a bar making out.
I get it.
Who gives a fuck?
I'll be honest, man. I used to be like, I was like, no, dude, no gay dudes in the military. That's not a good thing. Like, it's not, whatever. And it's like, there's dudes like that are like great dudes that, to me, I've kind of changed my opinion on it. As long as it's known, I feel like it should be known, and that person should be in their own room, like you would put a female in their own room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's that was kind of my only thing. I'm like, you can't force a 19-year-old kid right out of high school that's straight to live with the 19-year-old or 20-year-old dude that's gay. You know what I'm saying? That's just so. That's literally living a dude and a girl living together. I mean, that's it can't not be the same thing.
I think that's a strong result of heavy American influence on sexuality just in general. Sex is, it permeates.
I don't necessarily have an issue with them serving. I'll put it like that. As long as I think there should be that separation. Because if that's the case, then why are males separated from females? Because it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's people with two different kind of sexual, preferences and whatever that they should just be separated. I think the thing that people don't like about gay people in the military is just it's more the flamboyant people, but it's just
I haven't met a lot.
You got to kind of get used to it.
Yeah, I haven't met a lot of the flamboyant people, flamboyant homosexuals that are in the military. Most of the gay guys that I know that have been in the military, gay chicks too, but they're probably more of the masculine type of gay than
I think that gay chicks are definitely the more common, gay person, I believe, in the military.
Seems like the more acceptable career path.
Just like in the Navy and stuff too.
Yeah.
It's just, and you got out. I mean, we got out about, when did you get out?
I got out 2017.
So I got out a year later.
Yeah.
I got out a year later, so
it's only been a year. We're coming up on our anniversaries here.
It's been over a year for me.
Yeah, it's been over 2 years for me.
No, it's only been over a year for me. It's been a year and a half for me almost.
No, but I got out August 24th of 2017, so just over 2 for me now.
Okay. I went on terminal April 20th, I want to say, or April 19th. Right before 420.
See, perfect.
And, I got out, and now here I am. But anyway, back to what you were doing. You were at 1st ANGLICO. You were getting ready to do the deployment, got worked up. So you got moved into the SALT chief position because of the scandal, with quotation marks.
Yeah.
What was that like, getting suddenly pushed into a leadership position like that and then taking that team to Afghanistan?
Yeah, so I was a sergeant. It really was pretty seamless because, the team had already been, doing the whole workup. Everybody knew what their job was. The only thing it was like the junior 0861 on my FIC team was a corporal, and it's actually is Wes Mendiola. I don't know if you know who he is, but I've
heard that name.
He's an operator now. He's a giant emblem wearing motherfucker. But no, great dude, great Marine, awesome guy. So he stepped up and filled the FIC chief spot, and then I just filled in the SALT chief spot, and we just kind of went and did our thing downrange. And it was a fluid environment when we got there because originally we were out there supporting the 1st Household Cavalry Regiment in Musa Qala, and this was in November, December of 2009.
Okay.
So we were fighting with them until...
That's a pretty rough spot in 2009. That's like the literal Wild West. Like, nobody's really there. Were some Brits holding around that area, but that was about it, right?
They're trying to press for that mountain. I think it was 7th Marine Regiment that came in and took over for the Brits. And just pressed until fucking they killed a gang of dudes.
And then 3-5 came in, and then they got all messed up.
Yeah, it's a dangerous
So what was
spot.
that like? So you flew into... Leatherneck was already there, right, when you flew in? Or
yeah, we flew in from... what's the post-Soviet area base that's to the north?
Kyrgyzstan,
yeah. So we flew in from Kyrgyzstan to Leatherneck.
Drink the 9s.
Yeah.
It's a Kyrgyzstan bar.
Yeah, exactly. 2 beers per person. And then from Leatherneck, we were there for like a week, and then we shipped out to Musa Qala. Well, we went straight to Musa Qala. Yeah, we went there I think we got flown into Musa Qala, and then we lived out of there.
Okay.
For several months until New Year's, until after the New Year, because we celebrated New Year's with the Brits, which was great in country because they had wine and shit. So
nice.
It was a good time. And then that's when Operation Moshtarak was starting to get kind of fueled up, and they moved us from Musa Qala back to Leatherneck, fitted us up with vehicles and whatnot, and as well as a complement of Afghan National Civil Order Police, or ANCOP, as they're called. And then we went from... Oh, shit. Hold on a second.
All right, let me start over. All right, so you had to go do some stuff, but we're back now. You were talking about going to Afghanistan. You were up in, you said Musa Qala with the Brits.
Yeah.
What kind of activity did you see up in Musa Qala? Like, was it a lot of small arms attacks, or because I know guys around that area were getting attacked with like grenades and stuff.
Yeah, it was mostly small arms attacks. So the Brits had a really deliberate approach to dealing with the Taliban in the north. So it was slow and deliberate. So they had a plan, over time to move past, the mountain, past Mount Musa Qala or whatever it was right there. But they weren't nearly as aggressive as the Marines that came after them and replaced them. So it wasn't super kinetic, a little bit of small arms here and there, but nothing crazy.
What was your... so before going to Afghanistan, what was your assumption of what did you think Afghanistan would be similar to Iraq? And then when you got there, were you like, holy shit, this is like like living in the farms, you know?
Yeah, I knew that. So I knew there would be differences between Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't think I really registered how large of a difference it was between the two cultures until I actually got on the ground. So, you know, in Iraq, you know, there's a lot of garbage and trash everywhere, but everybody's got a cell phone and everybody has access to, you know, some type of internet connectivity. And in Afghanistan, people are, you know, especially, you know, out in Kandahar, in the middle of nowhere, living with nothing. You know?
Yeah.
So, and as far as the enemy, you know, I felt like when I was in Iraq, and maybe this is just the time period that I was there, but there wasn't nearly as organized a resistance as we face sometimes in Afghanistan. I felt like Afghanistan was a little more, the Taliban had their shit together a little better than the conglomerate of fighters that you found in Iraq.
Okay. How long were you at Musa Qala before you pushed down south to help out with that first clear of Marjah, or the clear of Marjah?
I think we stepped off for Marjah in early March. I think we had a month of prep time in between leaving Musa Qala, so probably it was like late January, early February.
Okay.
When we got backfilled from Musa Qala to go to Bastion or Leatherneck and meet up with our ANCOP and kind of train them up a little bit, let them shoot their guns, see what they were made of, not even see what they were made of, just pretty much meet them and try to build some kind of relationship before we went into this what we were being told at the time was our Phantom Fury. This was our Fallujah. You know, that's what Musa Qala, that's what Op Moshtarak was going to be. It was going to be this crazy fight, and you know, it didn't necessarily culminate like that. But
who were you attached to for that op?
My assault headquarters was 1-6, but 6 Marines heloed in to Musa Qala, or not to Musa Qala. I'm sorry, to Marjah.
Yeah.
So they did like the vertical envelopment doctrine, and they didn't take their ANGLICO with them, and obviously they weren't taking the ANCOP with them. So we didn't actually come in until it was like D+3, but we were the first mounted convoy into the city, and it was our 6 MRAPs that our assault had, and then it was something like 150 ANCOP that were in, you know, whatever they had, you know, Rangers.
Yeah. Yeah, those Toyota, what were those things called? Yeah, that's funny. So, did you work with the 1-6 JTACs at all? Did you know Kalo from 1-6?
I didn't. So, we mostly were with our ANCOP 6. I mean, they were pretty well spread out and kind of doing their own thing. We were co-located at one intersection next to, it was like 1st Platoon Alpha Company was covering in the south, and we had a gun truck that we assisted with that. But we never got to work with 6 Marines JTACs before we went in. We kind of just, I think that the CO of 1st ANGLICO saw a gap when they were sending ANCOP in, and they knew that, who was the general that was in charge of the MEV at the time? Dang it. Anyways, I knew he would be keen to have an assault attached to the Afghan National Civil Order Police to go into Marjah. So we didn't get to cross-train with those guys or anything, and you know, all I knew him by was call signs on the radio.
Okay. You knew Gage was down there, right, with Charlie 1-6?
Yeah, after the fact I knew.
Yeah. So how was the change between Musa Qala and Marjah for like activity and like your mission, what you were actually doing? Which one did you prefer?
I preferred Marjah by far, just because it was, you know, it was interesting, it was challenging, it was fast-paced, it was on the move. You know, there was no kind of established fob or anything that we were working out of. It was just, you know, trying to set up police checkpoints along the way and, you know, kind of sticking and moving, which appeals to me. We were operating out of the trucks.
That's the way to go, man.
Yeah, and because I'd been forced into the assault chief position when we were back in Musa Qala, I was doing like air officer things. I was routing aircraft out to the fix, and then, it was all right.
Okay.
But it wasn't FIC chief exciting.
Yeah. Did you guys ever form that third FIC out of the headquarters?
We did. Yeah, we got plussed up when we went down to help with Moshtarak. So we had a reservist firepower control team that we built up. So it was a staff sergeant that was the FIC leader, and then he had a sergeant that was his chief. He had a communicator and a corpsman. And that's what made up our fourth FIC, I guess is what you would call it.
Okay.
If you considered the SALT headquarters a FIC, we kind of operated that way.
Yeah. So, do you have any memorable patrols or anything from that deployment you want to talk about, or?
I mean, there was a handful of I suppose memorable moments, but I guess one that sticks out in mind is probably 9 days after they had first went into Marjah, and we were supporting that platoon from 1/6th Alpha Company that was holding a position to the south. And I had one of my fixers in a gun truck, and they were just kind of rotating, and they'd been there. We'd probably been sitting there for 20 hours. So they were seeing activity to the south, and then they kind of got organized, and they started firing on Alpha, that platoon's position. And so we tried to, the ANCOP that we were with, they were trying to rush out into the field and do this big flanking maneuver around not an extremely established position. I'd probably estimate the enemy force at maybe 10 guys. They were firing from 3 different spots. So we had to corral the ANCOP before they ran into the breach. But we did push over to try to support that platoon because we knew they didn't have a JTAC with them. So I actually wasn't a JTAC at the time. I was just I was a SALT chief without a JTAC designation. So I took my air officer over there with me to try to go get eyes on. And my SALT leader had already made it over there, and they had sustained a couple casualties on the roof. So we were trying to move them from the roof down and get to the casualty collection point, which was probably about 50 meters to the south.
These were ANCOP casualties, or?
No, these are 1/6 guys. These are Marines.
Oh, okay.
So, but then kind of went back over to the courtyard where their 0341 spotter was, and he had a pretty good pattern of life established on the hard southern portion of the area. So just proceeded to hitting them with mortars until the A-10 guys showed up and just gun run until there was silence.
Yeah. Do the hog thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great time. These guys are just a morale boost extreme.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel bad by touting them so much since we were Marines and there's Marine platforms that do CAS.
I know.
But A-10s are pretty good. They're kind of assholes on the radio, but overall they're pretty good.
We had a good relationship with the Air Force and what was the call sign of the Air Force? Was it the Medevac guys?
Oh, Pedro,
yeah. We had a good working relationship with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to establish good rapport with the dudes you're supporting, and I would go to when I went to my second Afghan deployment. I remember me and my doc, we went down and we talked about this in the second podcast, but we went down to the airfield, and when we first got to Leatherneck and introduced ourselves to the pilots, I updated my maps. I made sure we were all on the same maps. They gave me digital maps because they had better maps than me and stuff like that. So. So
it's pretty standard.
That's the way to do it, but people don't do that. I don't know. You don't run into a lot of people that they just stay with their unit and then hop off to the fob. You never. But I was like, dude, I want these people to see who I am in case something happens. They're like, I know the dude. So
you can usually get some pretty good gear out of it too.
Yeah, you can swap tees and stuff like that. That was always a good time. Patches and everything, but. So, when did you come back from that deployment, and what was after that?
So that was October of 2010. I came back from that. And that's when I pinned on staff I went to Chiefs course first out in Fort Sill, the 2000 level 0861 course.
Yeah, I went to that. When did you go?
It was immediately after that deployment to Afghanistan, so it was probably October, November 2010.
Okay. I was in the class earlier that year. In March, I think I went. Because I went after... I was at Fort Bragg when that gun exploded. That arty round exploded. Remember when the howitzer exploded? I was the fires chief for that mission. I approved that mission.
Were and everything. You seriously?
Yeah, man. One of my scouts was calling in a series, and it was like, I want to say it was like the second or third volley of the series. The round detonated in the tube, and fucking we had all the medevacs and stuff like that. Yeah, it was crazy. But I went to Chiefs course right after that. My team, I was with 10th Marines at the time, and I was prepping to go with 3-6, and my team went with 3-6 to EMV, and I went to Fort Sill for Chiefs course. So it wasn't too bad. I had Master Sergeant Klein.
Yeah.
He was my chief at 210, and then he PCS'd to go there to be a Chiefs course instructor, and then he went to all the stuff he had to go to, and by the time I got there, I was in his first class. So, it was cool. I knew him, and he was a great dude. He's super smart. So that obviously helped me out for the course, prepping for this course.
Was it Chief Warrant Officer Dagenhart was the guy?
Yeah. That dude was there forever, I think.
He was there forever.
People... There were some stories about that dude around...
That's a terrible place to homestead. Why would you want to go?
Some people like Oklahoma, man.
I know. I don't understand it.
Chiefs course, I didn't like Chiefs course. I mean, I think if you spent any time working at an FSEC, Chiefs course was kind of a...
You know what, though? I was a primed up runner when I left Chiefs course because we ran that mountain that was 3 miles up. Dude, that was a soul-crushing run.
You don't even... You never know... you never know where the end is because it's just a spiral up the top.
Spiral up to the top, yeah.
And you're like, where the fuck is the top of this goddamn hill?
But we had, it was Gunny Ibanez.
He's a good, solid dude.
It was Staff Sergeant Coulter at the time. Now he's a Massar now.
I don't know if I know him.
He is a 10th Marine Regiment, or he was a 10th Marine Regiment. He was the JTAC. When you and I were at 10th Marine Regiment, he was the JTAC seat controller, he was the guy that controlled where people went.
Okay, so when you got back you went to Chiefs course, you were still with ANGLICO.
I was still with ANGLICO. Yeah, came back.
When you got back, is that when you got orders?
Yeah, I pinned on staff, and then I got orders. I already had orders actually. I had orders before we left Afghanistan. They were looking for a JTAC to PCS out to Fort Story, Virginia, to be the JTAC for at the time it was called Marine Corps Training Advisory Group, or MCTAG.
Yeah.
And it was a hot fill, and they were looking for, at the time somebody thought I was a decent Marine. Tricked them. No, my Mass Sergeant, I can't remember his name now. He's a short guy. Pyers. There you go. He called the monitor and put my name in the hat, and I ended up getting orders out there. So I knew I was going there when I came back from Afghanistan. I was excited about it because they said you don't deploy for 7 months, like I'd been doing with ANGLICO. They said at most you're going to do 2 weeks to 2 months, and it'll be to different geographic locations, partner nation training, non-combat. Just go out there and help train our partner nations on how to defend themselves and do good things. So that seemed cool, and I was about that life.
Yeah,
so,
that does sound. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah, so I came back from Chiefs course, pinned on staff, and then moved out to Fort Story with my wife at the time and young child, and set up shop there. They stuck me in the 3, which is the operations shop, obviously. And it wasn't bad. I mean, there was some they sent me through a civil affairs course, which was kind of cool. I never really used that skill set, but they sent me through the Navy one too, so I didn't even like get credit on my own PF or anything for having gone to the course. But it was a good experience. I got to go down to Chile for a couple of months and work with the Chilean Marine fire supporters and experience that. And went to Germany a couple of times. So a little bit of travel out of there, and I was home more. And then, like everybody who's goes on a lot of deployments and then says, oh man, I'm tired of going on deployments all the time. I would like to have time to take a break. And then they get that break, and then they go, man, I'm looking for a deployment, pretty much. So that was me. And we did have a rotating deployment. 7 guys we sent to the Republic of Georgia to be the permanent personnel for a 7-month training cycle to train a Georgian battalion to go to Afghanistan to support NATO forces there.
So you trained them in Georgia, you didn't train them in Germany?
The exercise in Germany was the FINEX for all the training they did in Georgia.
Okay.
I'm guessing you've been to a FINEX in
No, but I know about it. I know a few people that have done it.
Yeah, we usually for the FINEX you get to bring like a team of ANGLICO out to do the evaluation for that portion. I don't know if you know Captain Regadance. He came out one year. He was the first ANGLICO, but I think he left before you got there. But anyways, yeah. So I got tagged to do that 7-man det for the 7-month deployment to the Republic. I put my hand in the air. Actually, I'm not going to lie. I volunteered. And then we got there, and about 2 weeks before we left, actually, they said that we were going to, instead of just training 1 battalion of Georgian soldiers, now the Republic of Georgia was willing to up the ante and send 2 battalions to Afghanistan, which was sweet. Everybody was for it, except, how are we going to train 2 battalions when the logistics of it was not at all thought out.
Yeah.
So when we got there, the makeup of the team for, to give you an idea rank-wise, a lieutenant colonel was our OIC, then we had a major, we had a gunny, the staff sergeant was me, and then a sergeant and a corporal, and then there were some Army National Guard guys that provided some additional logistic support in the form of motor T or medical and whatnot. So out of that 7-man team that we sent down there, I might have missed somebody, but they were like, okay, Staff Sergeant Garens, you're going to go down to this second location, and you'll be in charge of coordinating the training for this 2nd battalion of Georgians. And it was just this austere base in the southern Georgia that had nothing. I mean, no running water, no chow hall, no toilets, no showers. There were just quad cons that were set up, and then we started building it up from day one. And it was exciting. I mean, it was challenging. It was frustrating. It was, debilitatingly exhaustive at some points. But
what did you think about the Georgian soldiers?
You see, it's a different culture, so when you approach it, you have to approach it from their angle, and you can't expect, this is what I try to have told many rotations of Marine trainers that came through, my training program over that 7 months. When they got there, they're like their in-doc, if you will. I'm saying, hey, they're Georgians. They have a way of life. They have a way of soldiering that's different from what you expect as a Marine and what you are going to want them to do. I want you to make sure they do what they're doing safely, and I want you to try to teach them as best you can in the things that we're asking you to teach them. I feel like they had some good points. They have some bad points. I don't feel like, they're definitely not United States Marines.
Yeah.
But, when approached from a position of equality, I think their determination often prevails. Like, they'll often show through and do great things. You just gotta. A lot of times, the Georgians, when the Marine trainers would come through, they would constantly think that they don't understand English, not all of English, but the word they do understand is fuck.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be, every time, this sergeant, the Marine sergeant that's leading the training cycle, on small arms, whatever, he gets frustrated. He just, cursing at him. So they would just get shut off. So they would, they're automatically was that blockade. But that was the part of the challenge for me, and part of the enjoyment of it was learning to work through that chaos, and that cultural difference.
Yeah.
To get people to work together.
Yeah, I liked when I had the opportunity to go to Afghanistan as a Afghan National Army advisor, working with those dudes, and same kind of deal.
Yeah.
People are like, they don't understand this. I can't, it's their, what, they don't get this. And it's like, dude, you got to understand, we've been doing this for 240 years to get to the point where we're at. And so it's like these dudes, some of these dudes can't even read or write. And you can't expect them to just jump on and be like, oh, I understand tactics now. I understand this and that. So, yeah, it's something different. I think after you left First ANGLICO, then they started doing the Georgian Liaison Team deployments. And did you know Andrew DeMauro? He would have been a comrade. He was on episode 7, like I said before. He was He was talking about he got to First ANGLICO when you guys got back from your company deployment in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I can't put a face to the name, but I recognize.
Little nerdy looking dude. He's an asshole. I know he's listening to this, so it'll be good. I'll hear back from him about it.
So was he still there when you PCS'd out to California?
Yeah, dude. He was at ANGLICO for 5 years.
Nice, lucky.
Like he did his whole time there. Then he got orders to 3rd Recon, but he decided to get out. He was like, "Yeah, I'm good." He did like 3 deployments with ANGLICO though.
It was like the Sergeant Major of First ANGLICO when I first got there was Sergeant Major Morgan, and he went over to be the Sergeant Major for First MSOB when they stood up, and their building was across the street from in the same area that First ANGLICO was. And
in Flores.
Sergeant Major, dang it, what was the other? Duncan. There you go. Sergeant Major Duncan came and took over First ANGLICO, and then when Sergeant Major Morgan left MSOB, Sergeant Major Duncan went over to First MSOB and was the Sergeant Major for them. So it was like a breeding ground. First ANGLICO was like a breeding ground for First MSOB as it was standing up. But man, they got in so much trouble. Like they were always on the blotter, like every week, for like for just the Marines from First MSOB, because they just had they had a mentality, and maybe rightfully so, but they just and I didn't want to be part of it, and my wife didn't want me to be part of it. So Sergeant Major Duncan had asked me to come over to First MSOB, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna go do this McTag thing and see how it works out. So yeah, then I found myself in the Republic of Georgia training Georgians.
Nice. So how long were you doing that? Is that a 2-year job, or did you do it for 3?
Being stationed at Fort Story with McTag, which became Marine Corps Security Cooperation. So it was Marine Corps Training Advisory Group, and then they changed their name to Marine Corps Security Cooperation Group, and that is what they are today, MCSIG. So I was there for 3 years. I came back from the Republic of Georgia, and then I PCS down to 10th Marine Regiment.
Okay, and so you were at regiment. You weren't at one of the battalions?
No, I was never a battalion fire chief. When I got to regiment, went up to ATS, taught there. Then they stuck me on the 24th MU. Well, no, then I got stuck on what was going to be a team that went to Afghanistan, but it got canceled. When did you get to
10th Marines?
That was October 2013.
Okay.
2013 or 2014.
So you got there. It would have had to been 13 because
it was definitely 13 because I got down there 13, and actually.
That's where we met, is when you got there.
Yeah. And
because I had gotten back from Afghanistan like 2 months before you got there then.
Yeah. And I'd never been stationed in Camp Pendleton before that, so I didn't know anybody down there. Actually, Carl and his wife. Warnstead, yeah, and his wife came and helped me unpack my house.
Oh, really?
On the back end of my MCSIG tour, too, I ended up catching the big divorce. So that's where my marriage fell apart, and then I moved down to Camp Pendleton on my own, and my wife and kids moved to Texas where she was from, and that's where they live now.
Bummer, dude. It happens.
Dude, the geographic thing is, I mean, it's better now with FaceTime, so I can talk to them every day and see what's going on. And they come and stay here. So they were here in the summer for 9 weeks. And then they do the school years back with their mom. But yeah, definitely as I get done with my degree, I'm looking to get employed somewhere that puts me a little closer, because Texas to Ohio it's a good clip.
Yeah, definitely.
Luckily, they're both old enough now that where it can fly on a company minor. So not like one parent has to fly to one location and fly back with them. They can fly on their own.
Yeah, I've looked at that too. It's like an extra fee and stuff, but it's convenient.
I think it's $100 more, but yeah.
It's convenient. But so you were at 10th Marines, you got to regiment, and then, like I said, I was only there for a few months. I left in December, so we only knew each other for a couple months, and at that time, we were teaching just so like everybody knows, you and I were teaching, you and a few other dudes were teaching the JTAC primer course at ATS, the Artillery Training School, right?
ATS, yep.
That was sick. That was a cool time because they kind of let us do our thing. It was like, hey, here's what we have to do, and when it's done, like then, because we're all staff sergeants. I don't think Gage was the only sergeant.
Dude, I just kept
I believe.
Like, we did that for that couple months when we were there together. I just kept doing that for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, other than a tour on the 24th MEU, like, that's all I did when I was at 10th Marine Regiment. I just lived at ATS. And eventually it was just me. Like, sometimes they would give me a sergeant or something, like if you came back from deployment and needed, like, a little bit of R&R. But, yeah, I just taught at ATS. JTAC, nice. JFO, CFIST, BFIST.
Who did you go on the MEU with?
It was the 24th MEU. Colonel Benedict was the CO at the time. It was me. Trevor Keller is the 0861. The other one that was I was in the command element.
Okay.
So
as what? The fires chief?
Fires chief, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was troop listed. I was troop listed to the MEU. So I was actually, I don't know if it's an E6 or an E5 billet, but the person who's permanent personnel at the MEU is the actual fires chief. So Keller, who's still in the Marine Corps, he was on recruiting duty. I think he just got off. He was a sergeant at the time. He was junior to me, but he was technically filling the billet of fires chief, so he was supposed to do it. He kind of got puffed up.
The MEU fires chief is a gunnery sergeant billet.
Yeah. No, not the BLT fires chief. The command element fires chief. The force.
No,
fires
yeah,
chief.
the command. Yeah, that's a gunnery sergeant billet.
It was line itemed at the 24th as a staff sergeant billet.
I think it just gets filled by a staff sergeant. I don't know. Maybe it is only staff sergeant because that's a regimental level fires chief position. Yeah, that's why it's supposed to be like a gunnery sergeant. Yeah, but, it was a garbage. That was a garbage position.
Terrible job.
On the Pacific, out here when we did the 11th MEU, like no job to do. They didn't really have anything for me to do. They didn't really want me to do anything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
it was a waste of a solid year and some change of my life.
And it's not only the deployment; it's the workup. Like your workup, at least for us, it was at least the length of the deployment. You ended up doing like 4 at-sea periods, and then after you
it was the same out here.
You had to hang out as the Global Readiness Force, the GERF, for another 30 days.
For like a month.
So it was a big chunk. That was a big chunk of my time on Camp Lejeune was with the 24th MEU.
Where'd you end up going on the deployment? Did that MEU do anything, or was it a booze cruise?
It was a med float. I actually got to. It wasn't terribly. The majority of it was boring for me. We booze cruised. We did the 2014 to 2015 New Year's. We got to spend in Rome, so that was a good time. Then we went through the Suez down into the Goa, cut squares in the Gulf of Aden for a while, ported in Oman, did a couple bilats with the French in Djibouti.
Did you go to Duqm in Oman?
Yeah, we went to Duqm.
It's a big sand pit, freaking port.
Yeah, pay $500 for a hotel room just to pretend like you're not living in squalor for a day.
Yep.
But
I didn't do that, but yeah, there were people that paid for the hotels.
There was but after we left Duqm, we had a RFF, a request for forces came up for a team to come and provide fire support assistance to a partner nation in the Middle East. And so it was a kinetic fight. It was mostly the MRF guys that got to go, but luckily since I was a JTAC, they needed a JTAC, and so I luckily got to tag along. So it was cool. We went out, we flew in, and then, you know, without saying too much, we just moved along to the south and provided help down there to our partner nation. And
do you want me to beep out where you flew into?
Yeah, do that, please.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't have said that.
You didn't say the name of the country. I knew immediately what you were talking about, and then you said the name of the city.
It became a recurring. It was like a recurring mission in there after. But we went in there to set it up. It was super cool, man. Probably like the most high speed stuff I ever did in the Marine Corps. You know.
Yeah.
But it was also kind of sketch because you can't really tell them what they can and cannot drop on. And
yeah.
So, you know, you're looking through you're looking through full motion video feed, kind of looking at what's going on, and they just like, they got aircraft in the overhead, and they're just trigger happy, like they just want to drop on shit. And so you got to kind of pull on the reins and be like, hey, you know, you can't just.
The United States isn't behind this.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just, and it was our full motion video that they were looking through. So if it got too crazy, just be like, cut the feed, fuck it, just cut it off. And then give them, cut out their eyes. But for the most part,
I think it's still kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
you're there to like help direct towards like the most the best target sets.
Yeah,
but sometimes, like you said, it's their country and it's their aircraft and stuff. Right. So you can't tell them no. And at that point, you got to walk away from it and be like, we're not part of this.
Exactly, and that's what but we had. It was a good team that was in there. The captain from the MRF that was like our OIC, he was a no bullshit kind of guy, so he was fun to work with. He was hard to work for, man. We were working like we slept like 4 hours a night maybe for the two and a half months that we were there, but it was worth it. It made the MEU worth it for sure.
Oh yeah, that definitely would have. You made it sound like you didn't do anything on the MEU, and then you just kind of dropped this at the end. They're like, "Oh I did this thing."
I wasn't sure if I should even. I don't know. I mean, you signed an NDA, but that was you really only signed the NDA for the agencies that you're working with, you know. So just not to mention them. So I think but I have a fucking. They gave me a letter of appreciation, dude. This motherfucker gave me an LOA for this shit. But it's the coolest LOA ever. I still fucking have it. But, I mean, it you know.
That's funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, crazy. So you come back from the MEU, and is that about the time you decided you were getting out, or?
Yeah, so I came back from the MEU, and when I had gone through my divorce, I stood office hours as a staff sergeant. For Article 86 of all things, but it's really just what they were able to pin on me, because my wife she made a ruckus on the way out. So I got my NJP when I was in zone and the board was in session considering me for gunny. So obviously when I got NJP, they called the board and told them not to consider me, so I got passed over. And I got passed over again and again and again after that. So I was never going to get promoted to gunnery sergeant, and it was really just the end of the line for me at 12 years.
And how far out did you realize, like, hey, it looks like I'm probably getting out, and how far out did you start planning for your exit from the service?
Like a year out, I was pretty sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't 100% sure, but I started planning like it was going to happen. Actually, 2 years out, I really, like after I came back from the 24th MEU, I took one college class when I was on the MEU. It was college algebra. I actually finished it when I was in country.
I took college algebra. I took college algebra on the MEU also. What'd you say? Sorry, you broke up there.
Oh, I said I finished it. Like I took my midterm in country when I was off the boat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nice. Man, it was great. I emailed it to the lieutenant who was teaching the class, and he was a cool guy. I learned much more in that college algebra course than I needed to. But
yeah, that's good. I'm not a math person, so
Me either.
I hate it, man. I did college algebra on ship as well, and I spent my days writing formulas, like just doing formulas on Notepad while I was on LFOC watch. And
dude, oh my god.
And then I took business statistics in school, but that wasn't too bad. But anyway, so you what would you do the same, and what would you change about getting out? Like what would your advice be for somebody that's getting out, or that thinks they might get out?
First of all, anybody that's serving at all right now, you should be taking advantage of education. Take advantage of tuition assistance. Go out there and get college credits knocked out, because you really can't do anything out here. Like you gotta have some kind of degree behind it, and it's free. So why not? My last 2 years in the Marine Corps, when I thought I was probably getting out, I started working towards my bachelor's, and I actually was able to get my associates 100% with tuition assistance before I ever got out.
Nice.
Yeah. So I walked out the door with that in hand. And then if you are getting out, try to plan early. Have an idea of what it is you want to do when you get out. If you just take TRS kind of seriously, it's beneficial, because there is some good stuff there to be had. Everybody just so focused, especially guys that do 4 years and just hyper focused on, not being getting treated like a piece of shit anymore. They don't care about TRS. They just want to get out.
Yeah.
But if you take time to at least maybe build up your resume a little bit, or if you want to go to school, look at the school you want to go to and apply, because there are deadlines for these kind of things. Look into, how to fill out your free application for federal student aid or your FAFSA, because, I don't guarantee, but it's likely that you, since you don't have to claim your parents' income, you'll be eligible for the Pell Grant and other kinds of, free grant money while you're going to school. Do your interview with the VA. Anything that you got harmed, or you freaking just worked yourself, or you got back problems. That's not, when you're getting out, that's the time not to suck it up anymore. It's time to go to the VA and be like, look, here's the things that I can't do well anymore. And they're going to go through their process of making an assessment about what your disability rating is. And I don't think I know any veteran that's going to school right now with me that doesn't have some disability rating, whether it's 10% or whether it's, 100%.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree, because same kind of deal. I decided to get out. I had 2 years left. When they sent me to the MU, I was like, yeah, I'm getting out. So I started just crushing classes as well. I think I knocked out 10 classes before I got out or something like that.
Yeah.
And what I did was I wanted to get into USC, but that's obviously super hard to get into, even without $500,000 to back you up. I wanted to get into USC, so I just went to their articulation agreement and made sure every class I took fell under their articulation agreement, because I knew if USC accepted it, then basically any other school was going to accept it.
Seems like a fair assessment.
So, and I just took a bunch of stuff. I took college algebra, biology for non-science majors, microeconomics, stuff like that. So I just took a bunch of general stuff because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do yet. And then for the TRS stuff, not only did I go to TRS, but I went to all the little mini classes that they offer too. Because you could go and do 3 or 4 days or a week of finding out just about college applications and college stuff. And then a week of just small business owners and stuff like that, entrepreneurial stuff. And
they didn't offer that much. They didn't have that much stuff on the freaking East Coast, man. It was just normal. Just 1 week.
Your 1 week,
yeah.
And then I did that class. I was able to do that because 1, I was a staff sergeant,
right,
and 2, I was on the MU after it just got back from a deployment, so it was on its down cycle. So there was nothing going on.
Nothing going on. Yeah, exactly.
So and my captain that I worked with, he was a cool dude and was like, dude, yeah, we're going to set you up to get out. They were cool about it. So not everybody obviously has that opportunity. So
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, man. So what's on the horizon for you? Where are you going to school at?
So I'm at the Ohio State University.
I knew you were going to fucking say it like that.
Yeah, I got out. I took terminal July 2017. My actual EAS was the 24th of August of that same year. I started at OSU on the 21st or something, so I was actually still on active duty for a couple of days when I started at OSU.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's 2019 now, so I'm 2 years into. So I'm at the Fisher School of Business. I'm from Ohio originally. I'm from Akron, so my mom and my dad are here, and my brother, nieces, and nephews and whatnot. But also, the Fisher School of Business at OSU is a really good business school, so that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to do accounting. I got a buddy that does accounting. He does pretty well for himself, so I thought accounting would be a good gig. And I'm almost done with that. And I tested, when I was at the Marine Corps Security Cooperation Group, I had to take the DLAB, the aptitude, the Defense Language Aptitude Battery Test. Yeah. And I tested really well. But the Marine Corps' idea, if they're not sending you to DLI, the Marine Corps' idea of language study is, the Rosetta Stone that they had.
Yeah.
It's not even Rosetta Stone anymore. It's like a different thing. But
oh, really?
Self-study, I chose Chinese. That's the geographic region because 2013 was the same time that President Xi Jinping announced the Belt and Road Initiative, which is this $1.5 trillion infrastructure project. It's a global infrastructure. It came along with the Asian Infrastructure Bank, so kind of like other multinational banks that loan money, the Asian Infrastructure Bank will loan money, and they'll sometimes do it to people that can't get money from other places or to countries that can't get money from other places. So,
yeah, anyways, they're putting a ton of money into Africa right now.
A ton of money into Africa, a ton of money into Pakistan. Ton of money. Italy signed on last year with the Belt and Road Initiative. They were the first G7 country to sign on, but I think it was like 167 states have signed on with the Belt, have signed memorandums of understanding at least with China with regards to the Belt and Road Initiative. So I figure wouldn't hurt to focus on that geographic region to become more familiar with it. And I carried that over into my collegiate time here at OSU, and I was going to minor in Chinese. And then I kind of did the math with my GI benefit and the sequencing of the classes for the accounting degree that I was going for, and Chinese as a major, and it kind of matched up. So I only had to extend my graduation date by a semester, and I used up all of my GI Bill benefit. So went ahead and just double majored in Chinese and accounting. That's my life now. So,
dude, how rough is learning Chinese?
I'm not gonna lie, it's rough, but it's a daily effort. But it's not impossible. The Marine Corps probably helped me a lot because after I've made this statement, that I'm gonna major in Chinese and I want to learn Chinese. Now I just won't let myself fail.
Okay, I get that.
So for better or for worse,
you almost put it out there and talk shit because it's like you're challenging yourself.
Yeah.
You're putting it out there like, I'm going to do this, and you like put it out like on Facebook or something like, oh shit, now I have to do it.
Yeah. I don't want to let myself down, So, but it's a really good program at OSU. So there's a partner, and I didn't know it when my decision to come to OSU, but there's a partnership between Shanghai and Hubei Province as well, and Ohio and OSU. So there's a very large Chinese student population at OSU, and just as a result of that, they have a really good East Asian language department and a really good Chinese language department. So it's enjoyable, and it's kind of like, you think you're doing double the work doing one major in accounting and another in Chinese, but in reality it's not, because you kind of switch your brain. So when you're learning a language, or when I'm studying Chinese, you're engaging kind of a different, synapses in your brain to try to learn something. Yeah. Whereas when you switch gears into accounting, and it's a nice complement, so you can kind of do one and do the other. And
okay, I get that. I'm taking Italian right now for my major. I have to have a foreign language, and I do not have the aptitude for languages. Like I'm just struggling. And I went to Miracosta and did they offer, they changed the requirements for Cal State colleges, I believe. So at Miracosta now they offer you can do 2 semesters in one. So basically you do 2 3-hour classes a week plus 6 days of coursework online.
Right.
6 days a week. And so so now you get 2 semesters into one. And I took that, not knowing that's what it was when I jumped into it, but then they told us the first day, because no one knew, and they told us the first day, and I was like, well, fuck it. I mean, at least I'll have 2 of my 3 semesters done. It works well for people that only need that, those 2 semesters. But for me, now I'm at San Diego State University, at a legitimate class. And I basically had 1 semester of Italian, and these kids have had like two years of high school Italian or 2 college semesters. Or like one girl lived in Italy for 3 years. One was born there, and I'm sitting here like, oh man. Foreign languages is rough, though. I mean, I'm not the only one that's having a problem in the class, but it's definitely it sucks.
It's like it's probably one of my highest like stressors.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because the instructor, I'm in the 4,000 level coursework now, so we don't speak English in class at all. It's all in Chinese. But sometimes the teacher will be asking me a question, and it'll be a very simple question, and I'm just trying to translate them, but it's just not clicking, and I like feel my chest like swelling up and that tension building up. So it's a good kind of putting your feet to the fire to teach yourself to deal with those stressful situations. To just, okay, take a breath, don't let it get to you, because if I had a nickel for every time I had to tell myself to take a breath and not let it get to me since I've been to OSU, maybe I could have paid some more tuition, but it'll
definitely amp up your social anxiety. Being able to answer a question or something, or it sucks, man. But so, what do you think about the whole since you're around Chinese people all day and stuff, the whole trade war with China and stuff? Like, what's their opinion of it?
I don't think that the Chinese students that I interact with on a daily basis, I don't know if it doesn't affect them, but I don't know if they know how much it affects them. And they're actually like, Chinese people don't engage with American students like easily. They're not. They try to like build friendships and whatnot, but it's not a very. It's hard to develop a friendly relationship with a Chinese student. Maybe it's just partially because of me, and I'm really old, so I'm not the traditional, undergraduate age. But they do tend to keep within their own circles.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I mean, I just didn't know if you had more interaction since you're in school. And obviously we have a pretty decent Asian population here in Southern California as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, have you seen? There's a Netflix series out.
American Factory?
Well, actually, that's not what I was going to mention, but that's a good one too. That's here in Dayton, right around. I was actually Friday night. We went to a dinner because Hubei Province and Ohio have this sister state relationship, and this is Hubei Week in Ohio because this is 40 years that they've had this relationship. So the Lieutenant Governor of Hubei Province was here, and also the Lieutenant Governor of Ohio spoke. I don't know. Have you seen American Factory?
Yeah, I have. It's really good.
Yeah. So the Chinese guy that was the president after they fired the American guy.
Okay.
Fu Yao. He was there at the dinner as well. So,
okay.
Yeah. But
that's is that weird? Like it seems like through that documentary, it seems like they kind of almost worship their corporate like leadership. Their workers and stuff.
It's a different. I've had culture shock from a lot of different countries, and the same way for you.
Yeah.
But it's really like when you deal and try to wrap your head around the way that China has evolved from, civil war and driving the democratic, if you want, the imperial China into Taiwan, and then the People's Republic and Mao Zedong and the Cultural Revolution and the Communist Party is they make the rules and this is the way it goes, and they decide who goes to college, and it's very centrally driven, the entire country.
Yeah.
And they don't have a short-term mindset. They have a long-term mindset because in the American political cycle, we're going every 4 years. I mean, every 2 years if you talk about people getting elected to the House. Whereas in China, when, just recently when Xi Jinping was reelected, he also, there was unanimous pass in their not their Congress, but in their government, they said we're going to do away with term limits. So Xi Jinping can be the president until he's dead. He's the emperor of China. He's essentially the recent day emperor of China. And so the benefit of knowing what your leadership is going to be for the next 50 years is you can plan 50 years down the road. You can.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't have to worry about putting a policy in place, and then when the Democrat gets elected next term, he's going to undo and waste, all the money that you spent trying to put this policy in place. We're going to undo that. Obamacare is a good example, and I'm not necessarily for socialized medicine, but how much money did we spend getting that up and running, and just to get dismantled and torn apart? I mean, I'm all for standing on your morals, but don't waste my money in the process. Just plan something and stick with it.
That's actually an argument you don't really hear a lot about, like the money wasted. Having been in the military, how much waste goes into an organization that is like so structured like that. It's just, and when, I don't know, man, they make contracts and they make rules that just like screw themselves. I don't know. That's why everything in the military costs so much. That's why these contracts are. You always hear about how much money was wasted in Afghanistan, like building a building. They're like, oh, we spent $400 million on this building, but we never used it. And it's just like, cool.
My second tour in Iraq, when I went with First ANGLICO, the only exciting thing we did in that 2008 tour in Iraq was we did OpDan. It was Operation Defeat Al-Qaeda in the north. Eventually, we were just driving around the desert in this long-ass convoy looking for people, that we never really found. But they built this helipad in the middle of the desert.
Really?
There was a general officer that was out there. He set up this Bedouin camp in the middle of the desert, and they had him build a helicopter pad. It was crazy.
That's the kind of waste you look at, and you're like, "That's fucked up, man."
Yeah. But why?
Yeah. Well, it seems like a pretty good spot to cut, man. You wanna shout out any your own Instagram or companies or anything? This is your time.
OH.
I'm a Purdue fan if I'm not a SDSU fan, so get out of here with that crap.
Oh, keep it in the Big Ten.
I'm from Lafayette, man. I'm from Lafayette, Indiana.
Oh, well, there you go. I saw you. I didn't get to listen to the podcast with Lindbergh yet, but how was that?
It was good, man. It was good seeing him. He's doing well.
Did you actually go see him?
Yeah, I drove, and he's one of the places I stopped on my road trip.
You bastard! You were right across the way. I could have come over.
Oh, how far away is that? That would have been like Columbus? 5 hours.
Isn't he in Indiana?
No, he's in south of Chicago.
Oh, it's 5 hours. Chicago's 5 hours from here.
And I didn't even stay the night. I went, had dinner with them, hung out, and then
I'm done with your excuses now.
I was going to crash on their couch, but I was like, I'm going to go ahead and just push to... Where was I going? Oh, I was going to my mom's.
Okay.
Yeah, so my mom's wanting to see me. You know how it is. But it was good, man. Cheese. Little cheese. What was your call sign again?
Ginger is what I had most of the time in ANGLICO. Fifth ANGLICO, they called me Baca, but
I don't think I ever heard anybody call you your call sign the whole time I was in.
I wasn't very much of a... My operator days were my ANGLICO days, man. My 10th Reg days were fucking garbage. I hate 10th Marine Regiment. That's my shout out. 2nd Marine Division can burn to the fucking ground.
Remember that time someone lost a radio?
Oh my god, dude. Yes, of course I do remember that.
Oh, that was funny.
Drunk talking to Colonel Weinstein. I was like, I just drank. I've been drinking for 4 hours. I got called back in. Colonel Weinstein's coming over. What happened, Staff Sergeant? Let me tell you.
I remember when you guys rolled up in your Jeep.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, look at them, they're drunk.
Yeah, we were definitely drunk.
Anyway, so cool, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for having me. It was great. It was good to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. And in the future, if anybody's got any questions, hit me up on hit me up on my Instagram on J Kramer Graphics, or on Twitter. I just started a Twitter account for the page, so former Action Guys, the number 4 MER Action Guys. Yeah, hit me up with some questions or whatever, and I can forward them on, or next time you're on, I can have him come on and answer or whatever. But if that's if you don't have anything, that's it, man.
You know, there's a I don't know what platform he drove, but that's his call sign.
What's that?
It's
former Action Guy?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, I got the website name already saved.
See,
so
there you go.
I've already bought it.
All right, brother. It was good catching up. I'll be out in LA January 3rd through the 6th, or 3rd through the 5th, something like that.
Cool, man. Hit me up. I'm in Oceanside, so I'm an hour and a half south at most.
I'll swing down. All right, brother. Later.
Thanks again to Nate for coming onto the show and talking about his experiences at ANGLICO and 10th Marines and some of the other interesting stuff that he did in his career. He's one of the lucky guys that got to bounce from one ANGLICO to another. There's very few that got an opportunity like that, so kudos on him. He slipped into that spot. Obviously, it's because he volunteered for a deployment, but I think a lot of guys would have, at that time, probably would have jumped on the opportunity to slide into, a second ANGLICO spot, going to first ANGLICO and then deploying with them. But again, like I said, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for everyone for listening. Check me out, J Kramer Graphics, on my Instagram page, or hit me up on Twitter. I need some more followers. I got like 7 right now. So hit me up on Twitter, former Action Guys. That's number 4 MER Action Guys. Yeah, outside of that, just check out my website, jkramergraphics.com. If your unit needs like shirts or hoodies, whatever, man, laser etched coffee tumblers and stuff like that, hit me up. I can hook you guys up. Big item right now is flags. Everyone loves the unit flag when they get a photo, so hit me up and I can hook you up. So until next week, have a good one.